there's a decent chance that the conference championship games featuring the 49ers at the Rams. There's a ticketing controversy already in this game. It was happening before the Rams even won. Is like that's probably so it's 49ers at Rams and Bengals at Chiefs. The spreads for these games, of course, they were up before really even the other games ended because they give out these lines. The Chiefs, and this is the early game, 305.
Tell me.
Yes, because you haven't looked. I forget
what's the early game is Chiefs hosting the
Chiefs
Bengals.
Hosting the Bengals on CBS. And shout out to the NFL for scheduling, I guess accidentally, but shout out for doing it anyway. The game is Cincinnati, is Kansas City in Eastern time zone? It is, right?
Central.
But the game it's the Central time zone as the early game, and the game because you don't want to be in Kansas City on Sunday night. That would be cold as hell. So good for the NFL for working.
And also, it's just random because they flip every year. CBS gets the early game one year and the late game the next year. So it just dumb
Chiefs minus 3.5 wins over Wilson.
You know what? News for you.
Well, hold on. I brought this up on the podcast after the Bengals won. You guys asked me what I thought the point spread would be before the Chiefs and Bills played, and I predicted 5.5, and I'll stick with that.
Oh, you haven't seen it?
No, I've been I had to schedule and get on the podcast.
-7.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Bengals' first AFC Championship game since 1988, when a young John Breech was running around his house in Zubaz pants.
Yep.
Love those Zubaz.
Just like now. He's wearing the same pants right now, as a matter of fact.
I'm not wearing pants right now, Wilson. We both know that.
-7.
I haven't worn since the Bengals won.
That's believable. It's surprising how sober you are right now. Chiefs' fourth straight AFC Championship game appearance. Crazy. And as people remember, the Bengals beat the Chiefs in week 17, 34-31.
I remember.
Game-winning field goal, which probably should have served as a lesson to the Buffalo Bills that you need to run 13 more seconds off the clock. All right. Niners. Let's dive into this real quick, and then we'll talk about the line for the other one. I mean, Breech, you said on the podcast, on our bold predictions podcast, we'll revisit that next week or this coming week, of course. You said that you would have been happy just getting to the divisional round. So
just got invited to the dance. It's all you wanted, just to have some girl ask you to the prom. You didn't want to hold her hand or anything.
This is a team you have beaten in this month, right?
Yes.
Yes.
January 2nd.
January 2nd. Are you okay with just being happy you made it to the conference championship game, or are you going to allow your hopes to get built up to the point that Patrick Mahomes rips your soul out?
I have the same feeling that I do going in the divisional round. If they lose, it's going to be super sad because they got this far, obviously. But it's, again, they are playing with house money. They were not expected to get this far. I want them to get the Super Bowl. I hope they get to the Super Bowl. But if they lose, it's still a super successful season. And that's how I'm going to view it. So this isn't like last week, though, where everybody's saying you didn't really want the Titans to win. But I didn't want the Titans to win. I said it would be okay if they won. This is a 100% to 0%. I prefer the Bengals win. That's it.
Hey, Breech, go ahead.
I was just going to say the one thing that blows
I prefer the Bengals to win.
The one thing that blows my mind about this point spread is that, the Bengals won a shootout with the Chiefs. It was 34-31. I predicted the exact score that week. So I probably already know who's going to win this game. But the Bengals have the offensive firepower to stick with the Chiefs in a shootout. So, 7 points is surprising because the Bengals won earlier this month. It was 3 weeks ago. And then the other part is, over the past 12 years, the team that plays on Saturday and got the extra day of rest is 16-8 in the conference title game. So
straight up, not against the
straight up. Yeah, that's even better than against the spread. And so that's interesting because the Chiefs just played the most physical game possible. They went to overtime, and the Bengals played the first game on Saturday. They've been doing nothing for the past 24 hours except waiting to figure out where they're going to fly their plane to, either Buffalo or Kansas City. And so little things like that, I think, add up. And I don't think the Chiefs are going to win this game by 7.
That's why I said 3.5 to start. And I mean, as you pointed out, they beat them previously. So Stephen L., our guy at Sportsline, just put out his updated simulation for the remaining playoff games. The chance the Bengals win the division, 100%. Breach, congratulations, you guys did it. But so here, this is interesting. The chance they beat the Chiefs, 32%. That feels high to me. On the road, 2 out of 3, 1 out of 3 games. You play them 3 times. You beat them once in Kansas City in the playoff atmosphere. That doesn't feel terrible.
Andy Reid is 1-2 against the Bengals as the Chiefs coach.
I would say that if this line were Chiefs -6, I would love the Bengals. But because it's 7, it is a little spooky. And Mahomes is playing great.
But it's early. It's the beginning of the week, though.
Yeah, but I mean, you move off of 7, and like the books don't want to move. The sports books don't want to set it at 7 and then start going 6.5, 7.5, because you give people an opportunity, like sharp bettors who are putting down big money, an opportunity to get 6.5 and 7.5, and that is a dream scenario. If you're trying to hammer, if you're trying to double, you're trying to middle this game and get 7. That's what you want. So it being 7 is a little weird. The total has creeped up from 53.5 to 54. I would have a hard time taking I guess, again, it probably depends on the health of 2 units, right? 1, the Bengals defensive line, and then 2, the secondary. Like Tyron
Mathieu
it has to come out of concussion protocol, and he was out very quickly in that game early. Now, I mean, he hadn't had like an elite all-pro season or anything like that, but that's a big player.
When you're playing a quarterback who threw for 446 yards on your team last time, that would be a huge loss.
Yeah. The other thing is the Chiefs defense in general is, as we saw, is capable of coughing up some points. I mean, they gave up 34 to the Bengals in week 17. They gave up 36 to the Bills on Sunday night. It's entirely possible that even if the Chiefs are winning by 14 or 13 or 10 or whatever it is, that Joe Burrow, with those weapons on offense, storms through the back door. I also think a lot of people will be on the Chiefs having watched Sunday night's divisional round matchup and seeing how the Bengals didn't exactly light the world on fire with their offense, and think that people are going to be against the Bengals basically because of how the divisional round weekend played out.
So what's your early pick?
I would go Bengals at +7.
Oh God, are you guys all going Bengals now? I can't go.
I picked the Bengals outright. What are you talking about?
7's a lot.
7 is a lot for a championship game.
I'll
And
see.
and the other argument for the Bengals, Joe freaking Burrow. I mean, the guy doesn't lose these games.
I would just push back. I love Joe Burrow, but I mean, is he better than Josh Allen?
No, but I think right now it would be my top 4 of if I'm starting a franchise is Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, Herbert.
Disrespectful to Aaron Rodgers, but okay. And Russell Wilson.
The Chiefs have won their last 2 AFC title games by double digits over the Bills and over the Titans.
And
by the way, just a quick update that no one cares about, but I think it's hilarious. Brinson is now 1 game behind Pete Prisco and against the spread for the season.
What?
Love to see it. I was 1 game behind him coming into the day
with 3 games left.
He had Bills and Rams too.
Oh, you split, right? You're right. Yep.
No, we didn't. I made up no ground with him.
Right.
3 games left. Right. He'll will he be on the Bengals?
Yes, he'll be on the Bengals.
He needs Joe Burrow in that Super Bowl.
That's right.
He's on the Bengals bandwagon. Pete's driving the bandwagon.
I mean, I think 7's. I'm taking 7 points if I'm getting Joe Burrow. That's a lot of points.
All right, what else we got?
Okay, second game.
Let's see. Let me guess this one. So,
Rams at 49. I mean, 49ers at Rams.
The Rams have never beaten the 49ers in NFL history, if I recall correctly. Or at least they've struggled under Sean McVay.
That's what it feels like.
Versus Kyle Shanahan. So
Kyle Shanahan 6-0 against Sean McVay.
God almighty.
No. Sorry. 49ers are 6-0 versus the Rams since the start of 2019 season, despite being an underdog in 5 of the 6 of those games.
I'm going to say Rams -2.5. Breach?
Well, I know it because it's on the screen now.
Oh, I didn't even see it. Oh, it's
I was going to guess 3, and the answer is 3.5.
That feels like a sucker bet.
The 49ers +3.5 is -120. Tim Kamakawi of the Athletic tweeted out something about he's like, maybe the 49ers open as on, and like this is what happens in, now that gambling is like a thing with the NFL, where it's legal and everybody's talking about it, even traditional reporters. Tim tweeted out, maybe the 49ers are dogs to open. But he's like, I'd be shocked if they didn't close as the favorite, and just got pelted by quote tweets from gambling Twitter, which is a hellscape, and ended up blocking everybody. The point being is the Rams are going to be favored here. They're at home. They're trying to keep 49ers fans from buying tickets by only allowing people to purchase tickets on Ticketmaster if you're in the metro Los Angeles area.
That's
which feels like some kind of violation.
What? That's a lot of like.
No, the Broncos did that in the AFC title game in 2015 playing the Patriots. They only sold it to people in the Rocky Mountain region.
Yeah,
so that's been done before. I mean,
why?
Well, the last time these two teams played in LA, the Rams had to use the silent count because there were so many 49ers fans, and they don't want to get, Stan Kroenke does not want to watch his team get embarrassed because there's 80% 49ers fans making Matthew Stafford work on the silent count.
Why is it insane to think that the 49ers might close this point spread, given that
they're not going to open? It would require like Matthew Stafford getting COVID or something.
I'm just talking about based on the way this season's gone so far in their history between Shanahan and McVay.
If the 49ers were going to close as favorites, they would just open as favorites.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. Why is this point spread not closer? I feel like the game will be closer than the point spread based on the way the season has.
My initial leaning is to take the Niners because Kyle Shanahan owns Sean McVay, but Matthew Stafford, the 49ers secondary is really bad. The Rams had them down 17-0 at half in that game in the regular season and just kind of choked it away. They've lost.
Which is the only loss in Sean McVay's career where the Rams were winning at halftime.
That's right.
And they lost. So I think he's 46.
He almost added to that list on Sunday, by the way.
He did almost add to that list. So it really, I think your pick in this game depends on which game you think was more indicative of how these two teams are. Because the first game, the Rams jumped out to a 17-0 lead. The second game, the one you just talked about, in the first game, the 49ers jumped out to a 14-0 lead because Matthew Stafford threw a pick six, and things quickly unraveled from there. So
let me ask you guys this:
I would say too on that first game, the Niners were 3 and that was when they were 3-5. Rams were 7-2, and the Niners were just a way more desperate team, and they came out playing like it.
Who do you trust more?
That's a great
Matthew
question.
Stafford and Sean McVay and the potential for turnovers that they seem to not be able to get away from, or the running game, Kyle Shanahan and a Jimmy G. We don't know who's going to show up.
I think the concern here. I mean, I don't know. It's a good question
because the running game is going to be the difference. The running game and the play calls, obviously, the defense is another conversation. But Jimmy G versus Matthew Stafford, I mean, even I can recognize it. That's a no-brainer.
Thank you.
Jimmy G just drives me crazy with the inconsistencies. The running game is a great equalizer.
I think the difference here is so against the Packers, the 49ers offensive line was not very good. If they play like that against Aaron Donald and Von Miller, the Rams should win this game.
I think Trent Williams left on crutches. Is that what the report was after the game?
Trent Williams is out. Give me the Rams. I mean,
he is out.
If for some reason he is not playing, that's a problem. I mean, they've used him in motion multiple times. Ridiculous. I think I mean, gosh, Shanahan owns McVay. It's crazy. But in that second matchup where the Rams were already in the playoffs, but trying to win the division, and the 49ers were out of the playoffs if they don't win the game. The Niners were down 17-0 and came back. The other thing is, and shout out Barry Horse, my boy, for pointing this out, but I believe now the 49ers will be road underdogs in, is it 4 or 5 straight games? Like, that's a crazy run. It's not like the Bucs last year where they were, on the road with COVID stuff and not big crowds, and they were favored in some games.
Guess what Jimmy G is a playoff underdog.
And as a road player. It's incredible. What is it?
4-0.
That's ridiculous. So this will be the 4th straight game that they are on the road without a bye as an underdog. Whew, man. It's tough.
That is tough. And you look at these two meetings, one other thing they have in common, you look at Matthew Stafford's numbers here on the screen, 4 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. He had 2 interceptions in both games. So, like, they put a lot of pressure on him. He got sacked, I think, 5 times in that second meeting where the 49ers came back from 17-0. So, you know, it might be a little bit in his head. Look, I'm playing this team that has crushed me twice this season. We might see Detroit Lions and Matthew Stafford out there.
All right. So people keep saying that. I mean, what if Matthew Stafford's just really good in the playoffs and the thing that was holding him back was the Detroit Lions? He's played really well the last 2 games.
But he's bad against the 49ers.
And he played not great during the course of the season when he wasn't wearing a Lions helmet.
I
I think that playoff win is probably taking something, whether he would admit it or not, taking the piano off his back or monkey off his shoulder, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, of course, for sure.
And he has certainly played better the last 2 weeks. But to Breech's point, sometimes that thing can unravel pretty quickly. Like you have the crazy pass, and then like, oh my God, what's going on? And then before you can catch your breath, he's done it again.
I would say this: I think the Rams can blow out the 49ers. I don't think the 49ers can blow out the Rams.
No, I agree with that because, you know, as we just saw on Saturday against a defense that's not been very good this year in the Packers, they were harassing Jimmy G all night. They were, I mean, if it weren't for Joe Burrow, it felt like he got sacked more than anyone else. So, yeah, I think that's right. So I think you have to, again, lean on the running game and lean on your defense and keep your fingers crossed that Trent Williams is healthy.
And I say that, I said the Rams could blow out the 49ers. I mean, they were up 17-0 and the Niners came back, of course.
And also worth noting, like, for as much as we love Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey and that defense is tiny in terms of, like, up front. You can push them around. And that's how you get the running game.
Yep.
And that could be also sort of the difference.